scale your team's work gets done. So a lot of people know us kind of as the team and software that's going to help you document faster, but we also excel at a couple of other things, like we help your team find their answers more easily, as well as we ensure your work gets done right. So once people start to scale with Scribe and utilize the tool, they've noticed they get less taps on the shoulder on how to do things, as well as consistency starts to drive up. And I feel like that's especially relevant for our topic today as you start to think of documenting with a new tool or a new resource for your team. You want to make sure it gets done right the first time. And then to go ahead and kick us off here, I know a lot of us are familiar with scribes. So we like to compare a scribe to a recipe. It's kind of telling you step by step with an image and a textbook how to do something, whereas a page is compared to a cookbook. So this is your one-stop shop for like a lengthier process or something that's a little bit more complex than just one scribe. So this is amazing for if you're trying to focus on a specific tool rollout. You can kind of host all of your scribes in one spot for your end users. So this is one example of a page. This is a new hire onboarding guide, but we've also had teams utilize Workday specific ones, Salesforce specific ones, or just specific how-tos on a tool. But just to briefly overview what you can do with a page is we can add in a bulk amount of text. As mentioned, we can also add in things like Miro charts. Once this loads, oh no. Hopefully that refreshes in a second, but we can also utilize hyperlinks. So maybe you have some existing resources or guides on the relevant tool. You can place that here, as well as media. So say maybe there's a YouTube on how to work the tool or anything that's relevant. If you want to add a visual, you can do that. But the best part about a page is you can link a bunch of your existing content with Scribe. So as you can see, here are a few examples, but from an end user perspective, you can see I can easily click in and engage with the Scribe immediately. So again, this kind of puts in that idea of consistency. Everything in terms of a scribe that's placed in here is a dynamic link. So each time you make an update on the back end, it's going to automatically roll out to your end users. So you get peace of mind knowing as a creator that your content is up to date and it's accessible for those end users. So this is really beneficial to kind of encapsulate that lengthier process or tool. And feel free to drop if you have any questions in the chat. We'll also be sharing a couple of more examples, but to show you what this looks like actually shared, we aren't able to export a page as a PDF because then it turns into a static document, and pages are a little bit more engaging and interactive, so we can share it as a link as well as embed it. And if you're wondering what is embedding, how does that look? Embedding essentially is just going to be automatically placed into an intranet. A lot of our customers utilize things like SharePoint or even your company website. People have placed pages into, or even your help center. And what you would do is copy this embed code and place it into that platform. And if you're wondering if your platform would be able to take this embed, as long as it has iframe compatibility, you'll be able to embed. And we'll send additional resources in our follow-up email on how to actually embed your content. But to show what this actually looks like, this is an example from one of our customers who actually embedded this page directly within their website. So this gives you a good sense of what this could look like for your team, as well as how accessible pages can really get. Again, you can see I can just easily click into the scribes right off the bat. I'll go ahead and pause here just to see if there's any questions so far about pages or anything that's top of mind. Okay, great. And if you are wondering how can you go about creating a page, we do have our Scribe template gallery, which we can drop in the chat in a bit here, but essentially this is a bunch of templates that you can utilize and copy and paste into your Scribe dashboard workspace to utilize for your project. So as you can see, we have a ton of different things you can utilize, but if you do see something that resonates with you, you can click into it and then get a preview of what that looks like. So this is a good point to start with a page. But hopefully this gives you a good idea on how you can maybe make the overwhelming idea of getting onboarded to a new tool just a little bit less stressful. All right. Then to segue into our next thing, you might have noticed as a creator that we have refreshed our browser extension and our side area. And so we have a couple of things off the bat that I want to point out. Sometimes people do overlook for viewers or the end users, like what are the resources outside of just a page or a scribe or how to share. We do offer viewer-specific licenses if this is something that's of interest to you. Essentially, what comes with these viewer licenses is three things. So you'd be able to lock down your content and not run the risk of it getting out externally. So you get further enhanced security as well as the resources start to go up for those viewers. So they get access to our sidekick here. So they'd be able to search directly in here on a relevant platform. So for example, I have zoom.com pulled up and you can see as an end user, I have all of the relevant scribes to the platform I have pulled up. So this is the web-based browser extension, and it comes in handy if you have users who kind of want to find out if there's an existing scribe or what has already been created. It's helpful regardless of the use case. But this is that little searching tool, and I just wanted to point that out. If you are interested in viewer licenses, feel free to drop interested in the chat, and then we can provide more information after the call. All right. Then the last thing I want to go over before passing it off to Maria is our lovely Insights page. So this can be found directly on our Scribe dashboard. On this left-hand side, you can see we have the Insights tab, and this is a good way to kind of keep track of, is your content really sticking with your viewers? So for example, maybe you're creating a lot of documentation for a new rollout or implementation of a tool, and you're wondering, is this really being effective? Do I need to make tweaks? This is a really great way to gauge kind of the overall engagement rates for your scribes and documents. So as you can see, I can get specific to my insights here, and it gives me a nice little view of all of my stats, and I can kind of click through and see what's relevant. I also can see the share rate as well as the completion rate and my overall amount of documents that have been created. Additionally, I can see my top viewers. So for example, Maria's on my team, so she's engaging a lot with my content, but you can also get a little bit more granular if you do have those viewer licenses, because you can get more specific to who is accessing your content. As well as you can also see your top documents and your overall completion rates. You can also do the same thing overall with your entire organization. So this is the same exact statistics, and it's just a nice way to kind of compare the overall stats for your organization. But feel free to drop any questions in the chat if there are any, or any reactions, but I'll go ahead and pass it off to Maria.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison, for sharing a lot of different things that you can do with Pages, with our Sidekick feature, to really ensure that that tool implementation is as successful as can be. Now I'm going to move forward to how you can organize your content and make sure that it's visible to your end users. One of our primary recommendations here is to continuously embed scribes into existing knowledge bases or systems that you already have. Here at Scribe, we're big Notion users, so this is the example that I'm pulling up right here. But like Allison mentioned, you can also embed them within your external facing website, internal facing website, or even SharePoint, which I know a lot of our customers utilize. So if this is something that you're interested in, definitely go ahead and embed those tool implementation specific scribes there, and make sure that you kind of just have a general SharePoint site, a deck of all these different scribes, etc. The other way that we do recommend organizing your different scribes under this tool implementation is through our dashboard. So say you want all of these things to live in Scribe, you do have viewers licenses, etc., and you want to make sure that Scribe is kind of your one go-to place. One option that you have, as Allison mentioned, is implementing all of these different scribes into a page. Another option that you have is within all documents right here, you can actually create different folders. So you can create a folder specifically on your tool, whether that's Workday, Microsoft Excel, Jira, whatever else, and have subfolders within that category to make sure that, all of your end users are on the same page. Say that your end user is kind of, going about all of your scribes and you realize that you've created a billion different scribes on something like Scribe, Jira, or whatever else. We do have a tool called the Enterprise API. This is available on our higher tiers. And so if you are interested in exploring more, if you have an existing chatbot already in place and would like to integrate that into Scribe, go ahead and comment interested, and Allison and I can reach out afterwards with more information. But essentially, if you're finding that in terms of tool implementation, you have a billion scribes out there, it becomes a little harder to manage, and you just want to be able to use ChatGPT to find what you need. I can go ahead and ask it, how do I set up SSO or something specific about a tool? I'm going to go ahead and enter this in just for the purposes of this demo. And it's gonna look through my repository essentially and come up with a couple of scribes that connect with my ask. And so it has everything from that scribe title to the author, the type it is, whether it's a scribe or a page, when it was created, and of course when it was last updated, because you always want to make sure that you are viewing the most up-to-date document here. Once I scroll through those list of recommendations, I might be thinking, okay, I know that Kayla is the go-to person for setting up SSO, and I see that this was updated in 2024. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And as you can see, there's a couple of, how-to instructions here. It's a page and has a couple of scribes implemented. I'm going to pause here and see if you guys have any questions here of how to use that folder feature, how to use that API feature, or any questions about organization in general. Awesome. And again, as we kind of go through these different demos, feel free to ask questions, leave feedback. Allison, Meg, and I are here to help answer them, whether it's live or via the chat. Cool. So the last thing that I wanted to showcase here was if, say, you have some power users already in this specific tool. We'll stick with Jira or Workday. And now your users are fairly onboarded. They're looking at now how to make sure that their current workflows are as efficient as can be. So they're kind of over that, okay, how can I implement this in my life? But instead looking into how do I make my processes better? That's when discover workflows or improve workflows with AI comes in. And so in every single scribe, you'll see this button with the sparkles on it. You can go ahead and click that. When you click that, you have a couple of things that you see on this right-hand side, including an efficiency score, suggestions, and saved. What this improved workflows with AI does is that it basically looks through your entire step-by-step process of how you have decided to basically do your work. So in this case, it's searchable scribes via Sidekick. So I'm going about basically accessing that Sidekick feature. This AI will essentially analyze my workflow and see whether or not there are steps that I can take to make sure that my workflow is more efficient. So it comes up with that efficiency score based on that analysis, and then comes up with some suggestions on how I can make sure that it's most efficient the next time that I decide to do it. I can go ahead and click save if I want to save this for later, but then I can also click show me how. Once I click Show Me How, it gives me a brief overview and step-by-step instructions on how I can essentially alter this workflow so that it's better for the end user, for the creator, etc. It gives me a description of why it works and also will prompt me for any follow-up questions if I have any. So this is, again, a really great way to continuously refine your processes even after that initial implementation. Any questions here? Awesome. And this is a little bit of a newer feature. And so if you guys decide to trial it, use it for your own processes, feel free to send us any sort of feedback after your experience. We're always happy to see and learn and really understand how we can make this feature better. Amazing. So that is a general overview of how you can use Scribe for your tool implementation and to ensure that your users are having the most access or the most access to whatever tool you decide to output. We do want to show you a couple of other things here. So right now we're on November 6th, Simplify Your Next Rollout. We have a couple more things in store for you guys. We're not going to have a Scribe Spotlight next week. We're actually going to be inviting all of you to our special release live stream. I think Allison or Meg will send over a link in the chat so you guys can sign up. This will be a very exciting product release and update, and we just gave you a sneak peek with those improved workflows with AI. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can improve your processes, feel free to sign up. And then the last thing we have in November before Thanksgiving is what's new with Scribe. So this will be just a general debrief on essentially everything that we have released. This will also be very exciting as we'll have a product manager on this call. And so if after that November 12th release you have any questions, you want to chat through whatever, feel free to sign up for that November 19th session. Awesome. And again, this is our new product release. It's going to be on November 12th, and we're super excited. So we hope that all of you are able to make it and stay tuned for emails just giving you guys a brief update on what's to come. Awesome. We have a couple more minutes here, and we're happy to help answer any questions, troubleshoot anything. Anthony, I do see your question here. When our associates access a Scribe we have created, they get a prompt to create an account with Google. They can still view our Scribes without doing this, but it confuses our associates. Is there a way to prevent the prompt from occurring? Thank you. It's a great question, Anthony. One recommendation I do have is to ensure that you have your sharing permissions toggled to anyone with a link can view. And so I can quickly show you here. Oops. See. So essentially, when you're on a specific Scribe, you click share right here. You want to make sure that that goes to anyone with a link can view so that when you send that link out, it won't prompt to create an account or whatever else. Gotcha. Yep, Meg just sent out our email, so feel free to send us kind of a screenshot of what you're looking at, Anthony. We're happy to look into that for you, and we apologize that that issue is being is blocking your processes. So hopefully we can find a solution soon. Cool. Any other questions here? Awesome. Well, Meg just sent out our email, or success@scribehow.com. I can send it right here. Um, and we also have the support email, support@scribehow.com, if you're facing any technical issues as you go about trialing the product. But we'll send you a follow-up email with this webinar recording in addition to a couple of other resources. So be on the lookout for that. And we hope to see you guys soon in a future Scribe Spotlight session and our live stream announcement next week. Have a great day and have an even better week, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.